What's up, everybody? I'm Big Mike. In this video, we're going to cover all the items that sold for me on eBay this week. Let's get at it. Alright, let's go ahead and get it started. This first thing that sold was a pair of Levi's 505 men's medium wash denim jeans. Tag size 3330. This, I believe, was a Goodwill bins pickup, which means I paid probably $1.50 roundabout on it. Can't remember exactly what offer I accepted. Maybe it was the $10.79. Can't really remember, but I do know it sold for profit. Next up, this was a Sony PlayStation 2. It is not pretty to look at, and it didn't really work. But I have a connection that buys out storage units, and a lot of times when he comes across video game systems and games, I told him to come to me before going somewhere like GameStop, because I pay up higher than what they will, and I'm willing to pay up a little bit more to be able to make some money off of these things. But he does sell them in untested condition, so I get a really good deal on them. This one, PlayStation 2 Slims, are hot sellers. I knew even in non-working condition that I could get some money out of this. I listed it at $29.99, sold within about 24 hours for $25. The system powered up, but it wouldn't read the disc. I've looked it up online, fairly easy fix. I'm just not in the mood to fix things. So, plus with all the paint, it would be hard to sell in a working condition. So, I figured somebody else would probably enjoy getting it. Next up, another one of those battery packs from that RC car battery lot that I got for $10. So far, still making pretty good profit off of this item. Next up, I have an IntelliSkin Cool Q posture shirt. I'd never seen one of these before, but I was at one of my local thrift stores. This was one of those that kind of slipped under their radar as far as value. I looked it up. The comps were like over 100% sell-through. A lot of times these exercise compression shirts do pretty well, so make sure you check your comps when you come across them. I think I had it listed for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. Sold for full price, $34.99. This came from a lot off of Facebook Marketplace. Megadeth, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good CD. There was a lady selling her CDs on Facebook Marketplace. She had 100 of them. She was asking for 50 bucks for it, which probably wasn't a bad price, but CDs can be a slow seller. I knew that they were kind of in a little bit of financial trouble from what they disclosed on the Facebook Market profile. I hated to go a little bit lower, but there was such a mixture of rock and country. You're going to be hard pressed to find somebody on Facebook Marketplace that's just going to buy that whole lot for 50 bucks with country, unless they're a reseller. So I offered them 40 bucks, which rounds out to be about 40 cents on per CD. And I ended up using, I'm going to end up keeping a bunch of the CDs. Once again, I like to have physical media on hand, and there's a lot of CDs that I like. This is Megadeth. I was never a big Megadeth fan. Being a teenager in the 90s, it wasn't that Megadeth didn't get played a lot, but there was two types of people. There were Megadeth fans and Metallica fans, and the two never really met. And I was more of a Metallica guy. So here's a Megadeth. It sold for 19. I think I sold it for about 15 bucks. Was in really good condition, but I could have sold it for higher had I sat on it a little bit longer, but I was okay with that price. This was also a Ben's find. This was when I was kind of new to reselling when I picked this up. You would think Polo would be a strong seller on eBay for men. It's really not. I sat on this one for a while, but it was a Ben's pickup. I maybe paid $1.50 per pound on this. So it eventually sold. I think I sold it for $15. So still a good turnaround on it. This I picked up at a Salvation Army. I originally got it to use on my own personal desk. I love this mid-century modern stuff sometimes. And I saw it. They had it for $2.99, and I really wanted it. And just on a whim, I started looking up comps, and there really wasn't a ton. But I figured I would start out at $49.99 and see where it went. Somebody eventually made an offer, I believe, of $39 on it, and I went ahead and took that offer. If you're going to buy stuff like this particular one, use Atomic. Atomic Age is a good keyword to use. Mid-century modern. If you find things from this time period, those are sort of things that people look up on eBay. So it got a lot of views and eventually sold for a price that I was happy with. Once again, $2.99 into $39. Not a bad haul. This was also another polo Ben's pickup. This shirt, it was just a little t-shirt V-neck. Very well kept. I don't even think it was actually used. And somebody eventually made an offer of $10 on it, and I took it. Wrangler Flex for Comfort 3XL short sleeve button down pink. This one I got lowballed on a few times. I really wasn't even looking for the $14.99, but when I list something at $14.99 and you come back at $7, chances are pretty good I'm not going to accept that offer. But somebody did come in and pay full price on it. Makes me happy in my book. I probably paid $2 for the shirt. This was also a Ben's pickup. The Ben's at where I'm at, they don't really do a whole lot of hard goods. Everything is, and I know that the bulk of thrift stores are clothing. But when I tell you that they really just don't ever put a lot of hard goods out, it's true. Like, I don't even like going there because I'm not huge into selling clothes. I don't really care about selling clothes. But in this, I noticed that somebody had picked this up and then threw it back. And I was excited when I saw it because I'm a child of the 80s, late 70s. So 1984 Killer Whale hovercraft. And it looked like it was complete when they set it down. I was like, oh, wow, like you're looking at like $400 there. And when I picked it up, I noticed that it was missing a couple of little parts on it. And you got to remember at Goodwill bins, you pay by the pound. So what I did was I realized that this thing is destined for the trash. I picked a bunch of the parts off of it because people that have this particular hovercraft, they look for parts on it. I had already sold a couple of items of it already, and this one sold for $19.99. This was out of that from that guy that buys out the storage units. This is an item that purchased. I believe I bought, I think it was 2 or 3 game systems and several games for about $50. This one was in full working condition. Spent a little bit of time cleaning it up. Sold it for my full asking price of $74.99. Static X. This was out of that CD lot that I bought from Facebook Marketplace. This is a pretty rare CD. This is one of those where through customer service, the guy was asking about it. I probably could have gotten the full $14.99 on it pretty easy. It was a very clean disc. It's a very rare disc. But I kind of liked the guy, and we kind of shot the breeze for a little while. And I believe I took an offer of $12 on it. So that was a good purchase. I'm pretty close. I think with sales this week that's coming up, I think I've already paid for the box of CDs, and I think I've only sold about 5 of them, so in pretty good shape on that. Here's another Megadeth, Countdown to Extinction. I believe I sold this one at $5. Not an exceedingly rare CD. Funny story about this particular CD. This one came out when I was probably about a sophomore in high school. Just for a funny story, my high school principal had a bright idea to put a jukebox in the lunchroom to make a little bit of extra money for the school. You know, kids will put their 25 cents in and play their favorite song. I had a friend that was I guess if he was playing D&D, he'd be a chaotic. He fed the jukebox a bunch of quarters every day, and this was the only song that it played for probably a couple of weeks straight. And finally, the principal had enough, unplugged the jukebox, and it disappeared forever. The song was "Symphony of Destruction," which, out of all the Megadeth songs, that was probably the one I heard the most, and it was okay. I'm still a Metallica fan first, though. And finally, the last thing that sold this week was another battery from that 10 battery pack. So it wasn't an overly, I didn't have a lot of volume this past week, but the items that sold were pretty quality items. It just goes to show, always keep an eye out for different things. I know some people like to focus on one thing. That's great if you're going to be selling thousands and thousands of items on your store. Also, a couple of these were promoted listings. For the first time ever, I've tried using promoted listings, which has kind of worked out a little bit. It helps sell a little bit. And for the first time, I've opened an eBay store. So I had a couple of changes this week in how I approach things. But altogether, it was a fairly solid week. Once again, it's a very part-time job for me. Aside from my regular 9 to 5. If I felt like expanding to full-time, I'm fairly sure I could, but I enjoy what I do. So all that to say is, if you saw anything in here that you thought was cool, maybe reminisce on who your favorite band was. Were you Metallica? Were you Megadeth? Maybe you couldn't stand either one. Leave a comment down below. Any of these items strike your fancy, just let me know. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and with all that said, love you very much, and laissez le bon temps rouler.